Hi, everybody. It's Julie from the PMFRC. Thank you. Welcome to this week's edition of the Fireside Chat. For those of you who are new to the PMFRC Facebook page, a Fireside Chat is something that we do every week. We started this in the time of COVID, when we had to close our doors. And our goal is to come to you every week and talk to you about one of our PMFRC programs, talk about the services that are still available to our families and how you reach us. We have been very fortunate in the course of this to also be able to invite a number of our partners from the community and from the garrison, so they can join us and talk about their services and give you maybe a better picture of all the resources that are available across the board. Before I go through and invite my guests, I just want to remind everybody that we are live on Facebook. We do have somebody who is monitoring the comment section underneath us or above, depending on where you're watching. And that person, as we go through, if we talk about telephone numbers or email addresses, or if we are sending you to a Facebook page or a web page for resources, we are going to share that information in the chat. So don't worry about if you didn't grab it, or afterwards, there'll be an opportunity for you to go back and find all of that in one place. Also, if we are talking about something and a question comes up while we're talking, if you ask that question while we're live, we will get a notification of that, and we will try to answer that question for you before we sign off today. So I'm going to go around and introduce our guests today. I have the PMFRC Deployment Services support team here. Francesca Alexanian is our deployment programmer, and Andy Beaudoin is the deployment support coordinator. We are also fortunate to have Padre Michael Allen joining us. Padre Allen is with the Garrison Padre team, and he is here to talk about that team and the services they provide. Before we start the conversation, we are going to be talking a lot about deployment, and we're going to be talking a lot about families. And one of the things that we have found is the word deployment means different things to different people, and the word family means different things to different people. So before we go ahead with this conversation, I want to ask you, Annie, when we talk about deployment services and we talk about us supporting families, what does that family mean to the PMFRC? Who is included in that family core? And what do you mean by deployment?
That's great questions, because I think as military families, we move around, and then it may be a little bit different from an MFRC to another, or different rules or things like that. But for the PMFRC, so here in Petawawa, a deployment means you're not sleeping in your bed or the CAF member is not sleeping in his bed for 24 hours or more. So that means it could be overseas deployment, like we use the word usually. But it's definitely courses, training, IR will fall under deployment. So anytime they're not in the house, they're for a work-related separation, obviously, that is considered for us a deployment. And as for family, basically, we're not following your PERS file or anything like that. Like if you didn't put, or you're not, your girlfriend is not still like working, living with you for a year, or things like that. We don't have rules like this. So whoever you want us to support while you're away, it is considered family for us. For example, it could be your parents, it could be your brother or sister, but it could be a friend or an ex-partner, because they will take care of your children while you're away. Anyone that you want us to support while you're away, that's family for us.
Somebody in another call had described it as, however you define family is how we're going to define family. So whatever that means to you, you tell us, and we'll reach out and see what we can do to support those folks.
Absolutely.
Padre Allen, thank you for joining us. I think that some of the questions that we hear most often about the duty Padre is, when do they call you? People not entirely sure when would they call the PMFRC versus when do they call the Padre? And the other question is, can families reach out to the Padre, or does it have to be the member that makes that call?
Right. So as far as who can reach out, everybody can reach out. Perfect example, we had a father in Nova Scotia reach out to the local Padre concerned about his son in Petawawa. So that's a parent, all right? So anybody can call us, and we have spouses calling us all the time, and we are to take care of the member, their families, and also folks who are with the defense community. We're Padres to them as well. We have 2 chapels on base, and the members there, we have retired veterans, we have folks who've never been in the military who are older, we have military people, we have family. So we're very inclusive when it comes to that. As far as why would you call the Padre, generally speaking, during work hours, we divide it into 2. During work hours, you would call the local 5434, which is the reception on base. And everything you can imagine there, from we've just had a crisis in the family, there's been a serious issue going on, or we want our child baptized, or, you know what, I just need to talk to someone, all that. After hours, you would call the duty center, 5611, it's the local, at the front gate, and they will pass you through the duty Padre. What that would be more about is, that would be more along the line that there's a crisis, right? We've been called out, well, recently, where houses have burnt, right? Sometimes marital crises. Sometimes I just heard word that my father died, and I really need someone to talk to right now. That's more along that line. Sometimes we're actually called first to come and tell you the bad news too. So that happens as well. So what's a crisis? Well, again, like, you define a crisis depending where you might be at. What your situation may be a crisis may not be to another person.
Now, the Padres are assigned to different units. So I know there's a Padre for 3 RCR and 1 RCR. If I'm a spouse and I don't know who the Padre is for my spouse's unit, can I just call that main number and you guys are going to figure that out on your end?
That's precisely it. So one of the first questions that you'll be asked is, what unit are you associated with? Your husband, your wife, your partner, or yourself? What unit are you in? And so if it's 3 RCR, they'll reach out to Padre Krasinski, or he's been deployed, so there's someone covering that unit. You might say, listen, I want to talk to a Roman Catholic priest. I want to do confession, or I want this, that. Well, then we'll patch you to that individual, right? If you say, listen, I want to talk to an elder. I'm Aboriginal and I want to talk to him. Well, we'll facilitate that as well, all right? If you say, hey, I'm Muslim, I want an imam. Just so you're aware, we're actually having an imam posted here in August. So he'll be joining the team. So it'll be expanding in that regard. So so that's what happens at that time. Now, after hours, the 5611 number, you're passed through to the duty chaplain, and that duty chaplain cycles through the full team. So that night, you're going to be dealing with that individual. And the reason why we wouldn't get your Padre yet, why would we have duty then? Because they need a rest as well. So what they'll do is they'll deal with the crises that's happening at that time. Then they will pass it on the next morning or Monday, depending on the situation, to the unit chaplain. And the unit chaplain would usually be the one who would deal with it, because they're connected to the chain of command. Okay, so be aware of that. They're connected to the chain of command of 1 RCR or RCD or 4 CDSB, so that they can affect the best change. I can't just go walking into the CO's office of 3 RCR and say, hey, sir, I mean, I could, but then it's kind of like a breach of a professional thing, and I don't have that connection. So that's why the unit chaplain would be the ideal person for that in that situation. Yeah.
One of the things that we've been saying on these fireside chats all the way along is we hear from people that they don't call because they're not sure they're calling the right person. They don't want to bother us. And one of the messages we've been trying to get across through all these fireside chats is we would rather have you call. Even if you're calling the right place, we would rather have you call and us help you find the right person than have you sit at home and not get the support that you need. And I'm pretty sure that that's what the chaplains would, they say the same thing.
Yes, exactly. So sometimes you might call, you reach out, and it may need to facilitate getting together, but it might just be a talk over the phone, or it might just be, listen, I'll book you in tomorrow. We can talk, and that just brings a sense of peace. We've taken the first step to bring solution. Now, be aware that we're crisis intervention, so we can do counseling. We even do marriage counseling, but it's more of a crisis thing. So it might lead to where, I think that you might get a lot of help from the Warrior Center, or we might refer you to the MFRC, because what they do would be something that would facilitate where you're at. One thing that the MFRC does is the emergency childcare. So that's one thing after hours that we're empowered to act, and that's a partnership with the MFRC. It's their program, but after hours we would be the ones that you would contact for that, and we know how to connect and make that happen. So that's another thing.
Thank you, Francesca. We know that there are people who are either getting ready to leave or have already left. And there are a number of programs that Deployment Support has set out for families happening right now. Can you give us a rundown of what some of those programs are and what people can look forward to?
Absolutely. So the next one we have coming up is Deployment Readiness on July 20th. And in that, you'll learn a little bit more about preparing for a deployment, or if you're already in it, what you can continue to do. And in it, we'll also be learning about making a deployment wall. On the first Tuesday of every month, we have a program called Making Connections. And so that's when you can pop into our Zoom chats and you can have a discussion with us and other families going through similar things. And then we run a series called Emergency Preparedness. And so each one discusses a different type of emergency preparedness you want to look at. So our next one will be about OPSEC and online safety. We are also running a program called Dare to Leap, and we've been exploring gardening this summer. So our next one will be at the end of summer, and it'll be all about how to put your garden to bed for the winter and how to prepare it for the next year.
Put your garden to bed. That it seems like I just put my garden out, Francesca, and I'm already taking it down. We've been talking before we started the broadcast. We talked about people taking on COVID projects, and one of mine was getting a garden started. So, as a garden newbie, that's something that definitely would be of interest. Annie, in addition to the programs, there's also resources that the PMFRC has for families and tools and supports. Do you want to go over some of those?
Absolutely. So our main one, the one that we are so proud to showcase because we created from scratch 5 years ago, is our Up Family Readiness binder. So Francesca will show you what it looks like. In this binder, there's so much information. There's things like to-do lists and checklists and things like that, obviously, to get ready. But each section has something special. So some sections, the first few sections are more admin-wise, like legal stuff and health stuff and things that you need to remember or put away or things like that. And the bottom sections are a little bit more personal, how to stay connected for you, but also with the kids and things like that. So there's a bunch of information in there. There's also like, did you know, a little paragraph that kind of like help you remind you what to set up. Where is the water shut off? Do you know? Do you know that each bank has a special power of attorney? Like, there's so many information that we may not know, especially if it's your first deployment. But guys, if it's your 10th, you're still gonna have to learn something new or go through things that Murphy will bring you, obviously. So the binder is quite a great resource for that. Francesca talked a little bit about our deployment wall. So it is part of our program called Deployment Readiness Program. But the deployment wall is us helping you set it up with examples, with supplies, clocks, maps, and things like that. So if it's something that you would like to do with your children or for yourself, obviously, you can connect with us and see when the next program will be up. I want to discuss CDSP. So CDSPs are our Children's Deployment Support Program. So usually we have that during school. So right now we are off, even if everything is online. So in regular times, we have CDSP boosters. So we're still going to have them. We bring them virtually for you. But the community engagement team, they also started a CDSP newsletter. So I think it would be very interesting. They have great information in there, and it's kind of like to bridge the gap between the next school year, where you're going to be able to register your children again. And that is great because all the links are going to be in the chat, so you can all find that there. We have two groups, the 4 to 9 years old, and then the 10 years old and up. So depending on your children's age, you can register them for one or the other. And we also have a deployment newsletter. So we all revamped it since COVID. It's a great one. We have it in both French and English. That is our quarterly newsletter, but we also have sometimes very sparingly the Spotlight newsletter. So if we have any information we need to pass along, because there's like maybe a registration date that can't wait the next newsletter and things like that. It's not our mission to populate your inbox. It's very sparingly, but it's great information. All of our programs, the PMFRC programs, and any type of tips and resources, and even quick recipes. We all know how cooking is amazing when you're a deployed families. It's all in there and great information. So yeah, you're gonna find a lot of information on CAF Connection, obviously, in the deployment section, but we have amazing resources for sure.
All of the programs that we've been talking about that Francesca mentioned, and all of the CDSP and the newsletter, all of those All of those links are below. You can sign up for all of those online, so you don't have to wait to call in. You can just click on the link, fill out the form, and you're registered.
Julie?
Oh, yes.
I want to speak about the book there. Francesca, just hold the book up again. I deployed to Iraq, and we used this book. And I got to tell you, folks, it's a tool. But like any tool in the toolbox, if you don't use it, it's of no use. This is an incredible tool, one of the most useful things I've ever seen. And when you go, you might not have thought, hey, yeah, I guess I got to do that. Or yeah, I should have that down. In order to be DAG to go overseas, you've got to have a family care plan. What an incredible tool to do that. But also another thing, when you have it somewhere where folks know where it is. You know, God forbid, you know, you might be in a car accident. We had a situation where someone was in a car accident. They were fine, but they were not. Suddenly, people are coming to the house. Oh my goodness, we got children coming home from school. We got this, that. Well, through that book, we knew who the daycare center was. We knew who that person was. We knew who to contact here and there. It's all right there. And so please use that tool. It makes, I mean, you know, hopefully nothing will happen, but if something does, this makes it a whole lot easier to give you full assistance and help in your family. So there you go.
We just got a call. We just got a comment coming in on the comments right now. How do people get the binder in this COVID time?
Yes, so we do have hard copies that we give to anyone at any time usually. Right now we have it online as a flip book. So we can put that link too. So basically you would be able to either print it and have it a paper copy yourself, or you can look at it just for prompts and things like that online. And then when we're able to distribute again, you can come and pick one up. It's going to be either at the north side or the family center when we open again. One day we'll open again. But yes, so in the meantime, you can definitely get it online. So you would have all the same information, but not in a hard copy.
We always talk about this being a great binder for these spouses left behind, but I know for our family's case, a lot of things in terms of day-to-day life, because my husband traveled a lot, I looked after that. It was just easier if I just did it. So a lot of the things I didn't necessarily share or pass on. If anything ever happened to the spouse, that's a great resource for the member as well, who may not be as involved in the day-to-day things. They've just come back from a deployment. There may be things that happened that they perhaps have missed. That information is all going to be there. So it's for both members of the family. There's a benefit to the entire family to getting that information out there and getting it down. And I love the checklist because in a lot of cases you don't know what you don't know. So you may not know that you need a bank thing. It's nice to know ahead of time rather than afterwards, and you're scampering. Yes. Annie, you have an announcement coming. This is pretty exciting because I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this, and we saw a lot of these traveling around our buildings and around the bays last high readiness season. Annie, do you want to talk about the deployment dolls?
We are so excited. Today's the day where I can introduce you to my little friend here. So we were blessed enough to have money to get deployment dolls. We love those. If I can just give you a small little stories of my family. So I've been in the military we did 25 years. My husband's retired now, and I have 3 children. And I remember when my oldest was young, we were trying to work through a tantrum at the end, when it's time to go to bed. And she was just barely speaking and trying to express her emotions and trying to say how much she was missing daddy. And she needed something. And she reminded me almost like a teenager with a broken heart. She needed something. So we got a shirt that smells like that. She slept with it. She had it. She needed to carry it everywhere. And this is kind of like the same thing, but a more appropriate public version of it. You can put a picture of dad or mom or whoever is gone in your family right here. It is definitely a Canadian soldier. We made sure. But basically, I'm going to refer to my notes here because there's areas I want to go over to how to get the doll. So basically, the CAF member has to be deployed overseas with the exception of alerts. And they have to be gone for over a month. They have to be currently deployed. So if you are in pre-deployment, getting ready, you have to wait a little bit until they're deployed to apply for it. We have a deployment doll request form. So basically the process is and the link will be in the chat below. Basically, you have to go on CAF Connection, find the application form, you fill this out, you send it back to us. Then we match you with the family information form that your member filled out before they left. And then on that form, the family information form, they will have put their children's name so we can match them up. Those dolls are for the ones that didn't get one last time because we have a limited quantity. It will be first come, first serve. So we'll make sure that even by email, we know which one comes first. So we'll make sure that we follow the order for sure. And when we're ready for them to be picked up, we'll send you an email with times and location for you to be picking it up. The person picking it up has to be the person that actually asked for the dolls. And if it's really, really not possible, we need to make arrangement prior to that, as you'll have to sign for the dolls. It is a prized possession, so I know a lot of people were already asking for them. So we want to make sure that we're just for everyone, and we're following all those criteria. The CAF member has to be posted in Petawawa. I'm sorry if you're from another MFRC province, but connect with them. Maybe they have something amazing. Maybe this, maybe something great too. And if you are here in Petawawa or you're a Kensofcom families, we also suggest that you will connect with your MFS representative for to see what they have for you. So here's my friends. We have a few of them, quite a few of them, ready to go to a new home and have a new BFF. But we're really, really happy, and I hope you're excited to have them back.
Annie's been very excited to share this news. So
Yes.
if you are interested in getting a deployment doll, there is a link underneath us to a page on CAF Connection. It's got frequently asked questions. There's the form that you can fill out and the email that you send it to. It's all there in one place. So check the comment section out. Francesca, before we sort of move on to some other things, in the comment section, we're also going to be posting some resources of different things that you have found, different tools, different resources, different sites that are out there that deployed families may find interesting. Do you want to run through those quickly?
Absolutely. So we found that Edmonton has a deployment book, the Edmonton MFRC, sorry. And in that you can put information about your deployment and your family. And it's like a little storybook you can make with your kids to help them connect with the deployment. Esquimalt, their MFRC has a podcast, and it's about the military life and what different people go through. We also love the book, The 5 Love Languages, to help couples connect with each other and learn their love languages and learn to continue to speak them during their deployments. And you can find their website and take their love language test there. We've created a Pinterest page where we're gathering different resources. Some of them are for like quick, easy meals at the end of the day. Some of them are fun things to do with your kids during deployments, and just kind of things like that that you might find helpful, different articles or blogs that we find that are really relevant to the military life. We also recommend there are apps out there for deployments. There's iDeployed, sorry, and R2MR are great for deployments. The PMFRC, we have an app, and yeah, and there are also ones around mindfulness, and Mindful Power is one specifically for kids, if anybody's interested in that.
Perfect. Before we move to our last question, I just want to go over the how do we get in touch with you question again. So Padre Allen, do you want to go over the telephone numbers that people can call to reach the Duty Padre or the Padres? So
For during work hours, 5434. It's kind of like our dispatch, if you will. During after hours, it's the Duty Center, 5611, and ask for the duty chaplain at that point. If you don't actually have your unit chaplain's number, he may give it out as well.
And the main number for the base is 613-687-5511. And then one of those extensions,
Locals,
depending on what time it is. Annie, do you want to talk about how people can get a hold of you and Francesca and the deployment team?
Absolutely. So we're still home, as you can see. We're still working from home, regular hours for sure. So our main email that you can reach out is deployment.pmfrc@belnet.ca. And you can send us your questions, comments, concerns, suggestions. We're always open for suggestions. We love to hear what would help with your barriers and what you're going through at the moment, or even if you just think it would be a great idea for another family, even if you're not going through anything like that, please send it our way. We're always listening.
And if you are too shy to call and give us a suggestion, and please don't be, but if you still are, there is a page on CAF Connection that you can go to. You can fill it in online and just sort of send that through. So we'll share that in the comments as well if you don't feel comfortable. But I mean, if you are new to Petawawa and there was a program that you loved at another base and you'd like to see something similar here, tell us about it. We would love to hear from you, and we can see what we can do to make that happen. Some of the best ideas that we've come up with lately have been as a result of people calling us and saying, like, I would like to see this. This is a barrier we have, and we worked with you to come up with programs that are relevant to you guys. Last question before we go. If you have been following the PMFRC page, that you know that we are very excited about #kindness. What we are trying to do in this time when so many people are feeling maybe a little bit isolated is really emphasize how easy it is to be kind to one another, how easy it is to do a small thing and you don't know what it's going to mean to the other person that's on the other side. In deployment, sometimes you're stressed, you're the person that's staying behind, or you're getting ready for deployment, and sometimes that kindness means a little bit more to you. So we're going to do a round table and sort of ask the people on the panel, can you give us an idea of something easy and simple that you can do to support a family who's going through deployment? I can start first. Before my spouse deployed, Don, when he went to Afghanistan, he went out and bought a bunch of gift cards, $20 gift cards for all of the fast food restaurants in the place that we used to go to. And as a young mom, I felt like I was a failure if I wasn't putting a meal on the table, and it was just a lot. And I didn't want to go and spend money on food if I had money, at home. And oftentimes he couldn't do anything concrete, but he could sort of say, if you go in my sock drawer in the back, there's an envelope there. And if there was a gift card already bought, I was there, and it was easy, and it totally made my day. I am not the kind of person who's going to go out and make a lasagna. Bless those people that is their journey. It is not mine. But buying a $20 gift card for somebody so that they don't have to make a meal or do the cleanup or listen to the I don't want to have that for supper today, sometimes that makes all of the difference. Francesca, do you have an idea?
Yeah, so just small acts of helpfulness. Like for me, my neighbor would, in the winter, last time my partner was deployed, he would shovel the driveway for me before I got home. And just the relief I felt when I drove up and I realized I didn't have a mountain of snow in my driveway I had to deal with was just so nice and so heartwarming for me. So small acts like that made a big difference for me.
Thanks, Francesca. Annie?
What I want to say is that you have to look at who you want to help, because every family is very different. So is that a family with little kids? So maybe like helping with giving them a day break, or babysitting or something like that. If they're older, maybe it's something very different. If you want to do something particular, sometimes you have time to give, and sometimes you don't have a lot of time, but you have a little bit money to give. One suggestion could be a cleaning lady. So if you have time and you don't mind, and you can go yourself and say, hey, you know what, step back or go play at the park or something like that, and I'm going to take care of your cleaning or your laundry or something like that. If you can't do that because you're working, you don't have time for whatever reason, maybe sending like a one-time cleaning lady or a monthly cleaning lady gift certificate for the deployment period would be absolutely amazing. So just think about the family you want to help and serve and support and be kind to, and then maybe that's going to help to decide what to do. Padre
Alan, you had a big thought when we asked you this question initially, and do you want to share that?
Well, I'm going to talk about 3 rings. Oh, I was a preacher, right? Three points. First of all, I want you to remember that your spouse, whether you're deploying or whether they're deploying, or both deploying, remember your spouse is not the enemy. So when you are under stress and when the things have to be done and things are kind of getting off the rails because the family life is not normal, you guys are not each other's enemies. Always remember that, all right? Don't attack each other, hold each other, and get through it together rather than at odds, because a lot of your energy is used at odds, what could actually then be focused on solving the issue. Children, children are not a burden, they're a blessing. That feels like a burden at times. But it's really important that if your child is reacting stressful, it may not because dad or mom are away, maybe they're reflecting you. And I'll tell you a quick story. I'm going to dinosaur myself here. In October of 2001, I was posted here. I got a phone call from a mother saying, oh, My little girl, she's so stressed about the towers going down and the terrorist attack and all that. And I said, dear, your daughter's 3 years old. And she says, yeah, she can't cognate that. How are you doing? She said, oh, I'm crying all the time. Your daughter's stressed because you're crying all the time. So protect your children from that and figure out a way you can do that, okay? Because then your children, if they're having a lot of stress, they can have a very positive deployment experience. Even though you might be wrestling in yourself, reach out to someone. That's where you kind of de-stress, but not on your children. And the third, if you've been through deployments again and you've had this experience and you made it through, reach out to a younger spouse, a younger family member who may not know like what's going to happen, how's this going to be. But in doing so, be very careful. Don't tell them the horror stories. If you went through Afghanistan tours and of course there was those notifications and you didn't know and there was a lockdown of phones, don't tell them those horror stories. That's no value added in that whatsoever. All you're going to do is ramp up their stress. So just share with them. And here's some really good mantras. And this too shall pass. We've got this. You can do this. There is an end to the deployment. Just remind them of that hope and that, you know what? 6 months, if you were sitting on a beach for 6 months drinking Mai Tais, that time's going to go quick. Deployment, seems a little longer, but tick, tick, tick on the clock is exactly the same amount of time. So just remind yourself of that the time is moving just as fast or just as slow. It's just what you're feeling and it will pass. And you guys will be together and your family will be that much more enriched. And so that's what I would say. More principles than anything. Thank you.
I think when you're talking about me, one of the things I thought is be kind to yourself. Because I think oftentimes we hold ourselves to these crazy standards. Don't worry about the house. Doesn't matter what it looks like. No one else is going in there except you anyway. Lower your standards, be kind to yourself.
That's right. And remember, if someone pops over for a cup of coffee, they're not coming to inspect your house. They're not coming to judge you. So don't judge yourself.
All great words. Thank you all. I appreciate you all joining us. If people have questions afterwards, after this is done, if you're watching this after the live broadcast, feel free to add them to the comments. We'll keep an eye on those and we will get back to you. Padre Alan, thank you so much for joining us. Francesca, Annie, thank you again. We are going through a deployment time right now. Please reach out if you need support. We are all there for you. If this is your first time, if this is your fifth time, it doesn't matter. Your needs are no less important. Give us a call and we would love to see what we can do to support you through your deployment. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all, everybody. And we will see you next week. Next week, it's going to be the community engagement team and we will be talking about upcoming programs.